Here's that promise recording on synthetic division. When you're doing synthetic division, I could give you a lot of fancy math words, but the bottom line is, it is taking away all these variables that you have. So you're going to make yourself a small box to the left. We did this in class. This is, by the way, number 11, I think it is, in that section 4.3. So you're going to make yourself a little box. Notice that our divisor this time is x plus 3. So we're not going to put a plus 3 in our little box. We're going to need to set this x plus 3 equal to 0. And we're going to then subtract 3 from each side. And we're going to get x equals negative 3. So we're going to put a negative 3 in our little box there. Then we're going to see that our degree for this polynomial is 4. Since I know that it is a 4th degree polynomial, I'm going to come right here beside my little box I made, and I'm going to say, okay, 4th degree. So there's a 4th degree, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 4, 3, 2, 1, none. And those are for my exponent. 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. Okay? And those blanks, you are not required to put them, of course. That's my personal way of saying I need to make sure to put a coefficient in each one of those blanks. That way, if there's an exponent that's missing, as there is in this case, now I know, oh, I have to put a placeholder, and that placeholder is going to be 0. Because really, since my squared term is missing here, I can think of that as being plus 0 x squared. Okay? I'm having a hard time writing on that, but I think you get the idea. So this is going to be a 2 here, a 7, and since I don't have a squared term, I'm going to put a 0 placeholder. Then for my 1st degree, for my that's a 1, and then a negative 12 for my constant. And then again, this is like not very mathy, but for me personally, I put my line, what I call my line of no return. And if I write a number below that line, I'm going to multiply that number. If I write a number above that line, I'm going to add. And the step 1 that you have to remember to do is bring that leading coefficient down. And you got to write it below the line. Now it's a simple matter of multiply, add, multiply, add. Since it's below the line, I'm going to multiply. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Please notice where I wrote that. I made sure that I wrote it above my line. Now then, I have this. So now I'm going to add 7 plus negative 6 is 1. I'm adding. Okay? Now I wrote it below, so I go back to my little outside box over here. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. And so now I'm adding. 0 plus negative 3 is negative 3. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. 1 plus 9 is 10. 0 times negative 10 is negative 30. Negative 12 plus negative 30. I will make myself another box over here, because this is my completer box. Negative 12 plus negative 30 is negative 42. Okay? And this box does 2 things for me. It tells me is negative 3 is 0 for this function. If there's a 0 right here, then my answer is yes. And I can just write, yes, -3 is a 0. And some of your homework asked you to do that. And if there's not, then my answer is no. So on some of these homework problems in this section, it asks you to write that. Write the function value. If I were asked to write the function value, I would write f of -3 equals -42. Okay, but in this section, in this particular problem, I'm asked to write the quotient and the remainder. And I believe, let me check my book, I believe I'm asked to write it in a particular way to find the quotient and the remainder. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to write, here's my quotient right here. Okay, please notice one other thing about this. I'm going to change colors here so that it doesn't look like the same colors I've done these other things. There we go. Here is my quotient right here. I just boxed it. My quotient is these numbers that I got down here at the bottom. When I added, these become my coefficients for my quotient. And please keep in mind, we talked about in class, you're going to go back to the original polynomial function. Since it was a 4th degree, our quotient is going to end up being a 3rd degree. So my leading term is going to be a 2x, and instead of be a 4th degree, I'm going to drop back 1 degree, 2x cubed plus x squared minus 3x plus 10. Please notice what I did. I went 3, 2, 1, none. And then what's in my box over here at the end? My remainder is -42. Because that was in my little box. If that was a 0, my remainder would be 0. And -3 would end up being a 0. Alright? And that's how you do synthetic division. And I could keep on using synthetic division until I can get me a quadratic, and then I can just use one of our methods from last chapter. I can factor that using the x factor or quadratic formula or one of those methods to find those last 2 zeros on that one, because that's what you remember, that is our end game. Now while we're on this, let's think about this, because I do want you to be able to say, hey, what else do I know about this particular polynomial? I want you to start thinking that in your head even before you ever started synthetic division. I wanted you to be able to say, hey, look at this. This was a 4th degree polynomial, so I know that it's going to be this overall end shape because that 2 was positive. And I want you to look at that -12 there at the end and say that y-intercept is -12. So keep also those things in mind. Thank you.